We now bring you to the National Program of Talks, an interview entitled IGNCA, the Incomparable Repository, in which Dr. Sachchidanand Joshi, Member Secretary, Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts, is in conversation with Naveen Gupta, AIR Delhi.
Tonight we are in company of a man of vast experience as well as knowledge, an accomplished and versatile journalist, a short story writer of great acclaim, and the youngest founding Vice Chancellor of a cutting-edge university in mass communication and journalism. And at present, he is the Member Secretary of the Premier Trust entrusted responsibility for collation, documentation and preservation of arts and culture in India, IGNCA, or Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts. I'm talking about none other than Dr. Sachchidanand Joshi. Welcome to the studios of All India Radio, sir.
Hello and namaskar to you and to everybody listening to this program.
Sir, before we discuss about IGNCA and your role, I'm curious about your family. What kind of a family you come from?
My father was an engineer and he served as the superintending engineer in the State Irrigation Department, one of the first batch students of the Indore Engineering College. And he had his stint as an engineer who built the Chambal Gandhi Sagar Dam at his young age. Then he was also related to various social work. So he, after his retirement, was associated in founding a very big residential school in Bhopal. My mother is a celebrated writer in Hindi. She writes short stories and she has more than 60 books to her credit. And her name is Srimati Malti Joshi, who received Padma Shri last year. So, I have the blessings of my parents who have been culturally rich and socially active.
Srimati Malti Joshi happens to be a renowned literary figure. So one can understand that love for art and culture was inculcated from your mother's side. What did you inherit from your dad?
Commitment to the society and the commitment to the institutions. When you gave my introduction and you said that I was the founder, vice chancellor of a university, whatever I could do, I could only do because I inculcated all those things from my father. So he was a committed social worker. He belonged to organizations which were associated in grassroots work for school children, for primary education. This is the kind of combination I have.
And did you also inherit the love for languages from your family?
So we are basically a Maharashtrian family. So we speak in Marathi in our house, but also because we basically belong to Madhya Pradesh, we were taught Hindi as well. So our Hindi pronunciation was also specially curated by my parents, especially my mother, who took personal care that whatever language we speak, we should speak it in proper diction and with proper punctuations of the language and the nuances of the language, rather to say. When you are in a remote place, like I was born in Jaura, which was a very small place in the district Morena, and at that time it was the worst dacoit hit area. There was hardly any family speaking Marathi in that area. My mother took personal care to bring books from different libraries and bookshops, and she used to recite Marathi in front of us. This is the kind of pain which my mother took for both of us, my elder brother and me. We used to sit beside her and listen to those stories which she used to narrate in Hindi or Marathi.
Well, your heritage has had a direct link with the Premier Trust that now you head as Member Secretary. Sir, IGNCA was founded in 1985 and it happens to be one of the most aesthetically designed institutions, or might have perhaps one of the most ecological campuses. The units, I believe, have been having a flora of 5 different kind of trees?
Yes. Initially, when it was founded, there was no foundation stone. On a Devdar log, the foundation inscription was carved out. And then it has 5 different trees like Ashwatha, Nyagrodhra, Ashoka, Arjuna and Kadamba, which used to represent the intellectual essence of our country and our nation. And all these different divisions were attributed to one particular tree. Initially, there were 5 divisions of IGNCA, known as Kalanidhi, then Kalakosh, then Kala Darshan, and Janapad Sampada, and Sutradhar. Each tree was assigned to one particular division. It was very, very thoughtfully, meticulous and thoughtfully conceived according to the Shastriya traditions. So that is why when IGNCA started its work, it initially took up with the Kala Tattva Kosh, which was the basic elements of art and culture. Then they also started working on Kala Moola Shastra. Those were the basic texts. Then there was Kala Samalochana series, which was doing with the contemporary and the comparative literary studies of our Shastriya tradition. So all in all, it was very thoughtfully conceived. Credit goes to Dr. Kapila Vatsan, who initially conceived the entire institution. And it had the blessings of many prominent scholars and literateurs who had the glorious career as academicians. They all contributed for this institution.
So after IGNCA, 2 regional centers were founded, the Varanasi Regional Center and the Southern Regional Center. What are the specialities of those 2 centers?
Actually, Varanasi was simultaneously started when IGNCA was conceived. We all know that if you have to work on Shastriya traditions, on the traditional text in the country, most of our Sanskrit scholars reside in Varanasi. So the Varanasi Center was initially conceived to facilitate those scholars who are residing in Varanasi and whose help can always be taken whenever they are needed. And some prominent scholars were doing work for the IGNCA residing in Varanasi. So Varanasi Center almost came along with IGNCA's inception, in fact. Bangalore Center came much later. It was decided that it's not possible to cater the need of the entire Indian cultural community or entire Indian cultural tradition from just one place. So they thought that we can have a regional center in the South India. So Bangalore was identified. And then in the year, I think, 2006, Bangalore Regional Center started. When we took up the work of IGNCA in 2016, the new trust was formed, and then the members of the trust thought about the expansion of its activities. So we decided to start a few more regional centers.
Like Goa, Srinagar.
Yeah. So in fact, there was an interesting thing that there was a thought that we should also have a center in Northeast. And
Guwahati has a center.
Guwahati has a center. Then we have a specialized center for tribal and folk arts, that is at Ranchi. We have a center for studying Shaiv tradition, and Tantric tradition, and it is at Pondicherry. Then we have a center for Vedic studies, which is at Thrissur in Kerala. Study for intercultural relationship, that is at Goa. Then study of modern contemporary art, that is at Vadodara. And then Shaiv tradition center is at Jammu, Katra, to be more precise.
When one hears you describe these centers in detail, one finds out that again meticulous detailing has been done, because these are centers of those very particular disciplines.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Vadodara is the center for contemporary art.
Contemporary art, yeah. Because that is how we thought that when we are thinking of starting some regional center, it should also pick up the local essence from that place.
And the ethos.
And ethos, of course. And we have been fortunate that in Vadodara we could find out some correlation between the traditions of Raja Ravi Verma's paintings and modern arts and music and modern dance and contemporary art forms. So it was very interesting to locate those centers. Like when we think of Goa, it's not only the Portuguese or Anglo-Indian culture which is prevailing, but many important traditional monuments you will find of the ancient period. I mean, Goa has a few temples which are more than 600, 800 years old, and they belong to different communities, which is very interesting to study how intercultural relationship has grown in that area. So we just wanted to focus on the intercultural connect between different sections of the society. So we thought that Goa would be the ideal place to have that center. When we thought of Thrissur has one of the richest Vedic institutions in and around Thrissur. So we thought that it would be a very good idea to have a center which studies the rich Vedic tradition of Bharat in Thrissur. So it's like some thought process was given when we selected this place to start a new regional center.
Sir, globalization has also meant that Indian culture and arts are under attack from international forms and diversions. Now, how do you envisage of having a value-driven youth instead of a package-driven youth by having your repository of knowledge and culture open to educational institutions and schools? Are you having some programs for that?
Yeah, we have started a few diploma programs at the IGNCA because we realize the kind of specialized work which we are doing. We are not getting good trained manpower to work in these fields. So it is always better to train your own manpower rather than depending on other institutions doing that. And as you rightly said, and I have been often quoting this word, that today we are living in a package-driven society and nobody asks what knowledge you are attaining and what area you are achieving some kind of a perfection. But
I actually took the words from one of your speeches.
So everybody asks about the package-driven, what package you are going to get. So when we thought of developing manpower for these fields, I thought that it would be the right time. And looking at, my past record, I have been associated with hardcore academics for last 22 years. So I thought that why don't we start a few diploma courses? So initially we started 3 diploma courses in cultural informatics. That is again a very specialized field developed by IGNCA, which is convergence of information technology and cultural traditions. Then we had a course in preventive conservation, which is again very important because we often see monuments or artifacts being displayed, but nobody thinks of the person who has put his hard work to conserve those things. So that is what we tried to do in conservation. Third thing which we started was, of course, Buddhist Studies. Next year, we also started a few courses on data management and information retrieval and manuscriptology and paleography. So these were the courses to attract good, bright students to work in these specialized area.
And these are fields in which culture as well as science are intermixed.
Yeah, they are intermixed. And unfortunately, we don't tell our children about these courses, about these avenues. In fact, we don't tell our children about heritage management. We don't tell about conservation. We don't tell them about our rich textual traditions.
Whereas the West churns out professionals in these fields.
Yes, exactly. And I don't think any other country in the world has the kind of heritage which India has.
Definitely, sir.
Like, for instance, take the example of manuscripts. Do we really know that we have the largest collections of manuscripts in the entire world? Over 10 million manuscripts, that too in known resources. I'm not talking about the unknown resources. Like if you may have a manuscript collection in your own possession, I'm not talking about that. So, huge amount of manuscript treasure is lying in our country, which is not tapped properly. We need to document, we need to conserve, we need to preserve, and most importantly, we need to read those manuscripts.
It pains me that how much we must have lost by now.
Yes, exactly, because like we always give an example that in ancient period, Nalanda has the library which was burnt. But we don't know how many other libraries were burnt in ancient period, even by natural calamities. Like I was told that there was a flood and most of the manuscripts were taken by the flood. So it's like this treasure has not been tapped. Now we do not have people who can read ancient scripts. There are manuscripts available in scripts like Brahmi, like Tiglari, like Nivari, like Sharda, but we don't train our youngsters to read these manuscripts. So one effort which IGNCA did was to train the younger generation to read these manuscripts. We organized special programs to read these Brahmi and Sharda lipis. It's a vast area which has remained untapped. Whenever we speak of culture, we only speak of a little dance performance or a drama performance or a music performance or a painting. That's all. That is the only correlation of our life with the culture. But culture is an integral part of our life. Especially in India, it cannot be separated from our life. That we must understand. That is my submission.
Your vast experience as a journalist as well as an academician and now as a cultural czar are kind of rolled as one talks with you. Are you making sure that this huge hoard of knowledge that resides in your repository, in your institution, is made accessible to school children because they are the future of India?
We have a special program known as Bal Jagat, where we are trying to attract young kids to come to IGNCA and learn something which is useful for them and which improves their plethora of knowledge. We also conduct various training programs, like we also invite institutions who can come, who can bring these children together for a specialized area. Like one is a very interesting tradition, like storytelling. These days nobody tells stories. We all have laptops and iPads and mobiles, and children are more accustomed of listening stories on that. In fact, they want cartoon films to be seen.
And the nuclear family has been the absence of the grandfather and the
grandmother, and parents don't know about much of stories, and even if they know, they don't have time to tell the stories to their kids. So we have started storytelling festival, which was huge success. Almost 5,000 to 6,000 children used to come every day for 3 days.
When was this?
Every year we hold it in the month of November.
Okay.
Yeah. Then again there was an NGO which was trying to develop the reading habits among the kids. So we also promoted them. We also collaborated with them. So there used to be a very big festival of reading. Along with that, we used to have this special exhibition for the books related to children. So never it happens in other institutions like that.
I asked this question especially because of the fact that you have perhaps one of the most beautiful campuses.
Yes, of course.
In probably the entire world.
At least in India, I'm sure.
Yeah. So the kids coming there would have a double advantage of being in sync with the environment as well as with knowledge.
Yeah, because we need to attract, we need to invite. In fact, if we remain isolated, if we close our gates, who is going to come inside the campus? So our biggest worry when we took over this institution, our biggest worry was to improve the outreach. So we tried each and every style and every way how we can improve the outreach of this institution. And it cannot always be improved by putting ads in the newspaper or putting ads in the television media. It can always be done through personal contact. Once a person feels associated or attached with the institution, he or she would always be keen to come inside the institution. That was the idea. So I'm happy that in last 2.5 years, 3 years, the amount of visitors to IGNCA has increased in many folds. Plus our presence on social media has increased. On, of course, the activities, almost we have increased the activities to 4 times than what it used to be.
Sir, IGNCA also happens to have some of the rarest personal collections of literatures and illuminati of India as well as from abroad.
Yeah.
Would you tell us a little bit about them?
Yes, of course. Actually, it has prominent collections of, say, Ananda Kumar Swami. It is one of the biggest collections. So, other than Boston Museum, I think IGNCA has the richest collection of Anand Kumar Swami with us. Then we also have the collection from Suniti Kumar Chatterjee, and then Hazari Prasad Dwivedi, and like this.
I believe Professor Namvar Singh before dying, he wanted...
So what happened is that we started looking for more collections. Then Kapila Vatsen ji also donated her collection. We also approached Dr. Namvar Singh, who was very keen and willing to donate his collection. So it will be with us. Recently, collections which we acquired include L.M. Sanghviji's collection, which is more than 10,000 books. Professor Devendra Swaroop's collection, which is again 9,000 plus books. Shyam Benegal ji wanted to donate his books, so we immediately rushed to him, requested him. So he has also donated 3,000 books to us. Then we also acquired one of the biggest dance collection known as Mohan Khokar Dance Collection, which is not only dance, but the entire cultural resource and repository for last 30-40 years, which Mr. Mohan Khokar has collected. That is also with us. Plus we have Raja Deen Dayal's photographic collection, which is again a remarkable collection.
It must be invaluable.
It's invaluable because Raja Deen Dayal was founder photographer, father of the photography in India, we can say. 1845 he was born. So in those eras, one can only imagine what kind of camera he used to have and what kind of photographs he has shot with those cameras. Then we have Lansden's collection. Then we have Henry Cartier Besson's photographic collection. So it's like huge And as far as films are concerned, we have B.D. Garga's collection.
That's what I was coming to.
Yeah. So B.D. Garga has, because film is again a matter which has not been taken very seriously by...
especially silent era films.
Yeah,
I believe you're doing some pioneering work in that field.
Yes, and we have done festival. Recently, we have done a festival of silent era films, and we have shown 14 films of silent era, only up to 1930s, and it was a huge success. And let me tell you very frankly, when the festival was held in Bangalore, especially in the university, young boys and girls were very much enthusiastic to see these silent era films.
You must have labored quite a lot because India has lost almost all of its silent films.
Yes. And we had to take pains and we had to beg, borrow from different sources to have those films. And people were not very keen to give it to us because they knew that many people don't make best use of this resource. But now since we have made the effort and festival has taken place in 5-6 cities. Now they realize that we have done something good for the silent era also.
Sir, there are 13 intangible heritage sites in India as declared by UNESCO. And IGNCA was involved in, at least majorly involved in having 2 recognized in the period 2000 to 2010. One was the Ramnagar Ramlila, and the other was the Vedic form of chanting oral tradition.
Yes.
And what is this Vedic portal?
You see, what happens is that when we talk about our Vedic tradition, everybody speaks about just 4 Vedas, and most of the people don't know much beyond these 4 Vedas. And even if we talk about 4 Vedas, it is only one style of recitation which they talk about. What we have tried to do is that in the Vedic Heritage Portal, we have tried to give the entire, I'll not say entire, but complete knowledge related to Vedic traditions. And it is on 3 different levels. One is for the beginner who doesn't know anything about the Vedic tradition and who would like to know something about Vedic tradition. One is a scholar who wants to upgrade his knowledge. And third is an eminent person who wants to enrich his entire ambit of knowledge. So on these 3 levels, Vedic Heritage Portal is trying to cater the needs of the consumer. And we have not only put 4 Vedas, but different styles of Vedic chanting and different styles of Vedic interpretations, then Brahmans and then Upanishads, and everything has been covered in this. And whatever is being given to us and whatever is being informed to us, we are more than ready and keen to go to that place and try to document that thing. Initially, Vedic Heritage Portal was on a pilot mode. Now, Government of India has given us green signal to go ahead with this. And now, in years to come, Vedic Heritage Portal will take its shape for which it has been created. That's it.
IGNCA has also been involved in some pioneering work on the documentation of akhadas in the recently concluded Kumbh.
Yes.
And Kumbh has become the latest addition to that intangible list of heritage by UNESCO. 2017 it was declared a site of intangible heritage. How has IGNCA been involved in the documentation of heritage of akhadas?
It is an interesting incident. What happens is when we talk of Kumbh, there are very routine kind of pictures which emerge in one's mind. Some Naga sadhus going for a bath and that's all, and somebody blowing the shank and that's all. Even if we talk of akhadas, we don't know much about akhadas, what akhada really means and what is the tradition, how one akhada differs from others, and what is their interrelationship and what is their impact on the society. Nobody knows about them, and unfortunately, akhadas have not been very vocal in telling much about them. They have also confined their things within themselves. So there was a thought that since enough work has been done on Kumbh, especially in the last Kumbh which was held in Ujjain, Sinhast, I think huge documentation took place. But still, akhadas were not touched. So this was the area we thought that we must look into, and we know that there are 13 akhadas, 7 Shaiva akhadas and some Vaishnava akhadas and some Niranjani and some Sanatani akhadas. So nobody knows about them. And then why one particular akhada is given chance to take the dip first, and what is the serial and how is the chronology, we almost know about that. So we thought of documenting, and we have done enough documentation. So now we have 2 films made out of that of 1 hour's duration each. And I think it would create huge interest among the audience when they see this.
And what is this project Sanjari that is occupying IGNCA nowadays?
Sanjari is another interesting project. What happened is when we focus on the tradition, we always see the classical music. We don't try to document the folk traditions of India. And then we realized that why don't we document the folk art and folk music of our country? So we invited folk music from different states and some prominent artists, maybe National Award winners, Sangeet Natak Academy Award winners, Bismillah Khan awardees, all those artists were invited. So we had 32 concerts in that series. And now we have a folk music, representative folk music of 32 states. So now we are bringing out a complete collection of that, which would also give some, in a form of monograph, some information about that music. And of course, the DVD or the pen drive, which comprises. I don't think in recent past such kind of a collection has ever been produced. It is one of the rarest of the rare things which we have tried to do.
India also is represented by its diaspora abroad. Has IGNCA factored the diaspora in its scheme of things?
Yes, of course. We have different divisions. One focuses on Southeast Asian studies, one focuses on East Asia studies, one focuses on Central Asia studies. So we have a couple of divisions which are working on the Indian impact in different countries. So that is one way of looking at the diaspora. Another way is that we also are the academic partner in Project Mausam, which is again an important project which deals with the monsoon routes, which is a counter narrative for the Silk Route, which was propagated by the China. We all know that India has much rich tradition as compared to Silk Route. Even if China has documented it for their purpose, India has the largest contribution in Silk Route also. But to counter that, we need to have some kind of a different narrative to be established. So along with 39 countries in the world, we have started the Project Mausam, where we are discussing the monsoon route. And that is, of course, the coastal cultural traditions spread along the various countries.
So we could have kept on talking about you and your organization. It was wonderful to have you here. We wish you great power, and we wish IGNCA even greater power. May it grow even more sturdier.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You were listening to an interview entitled IGNCA, the Incomparable Repository, in which Dr. Sachchidanand Joshi, Member Secretary, Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts, was in conversation with Naveen Gupta, AIR Delhi. Produced and presented by Naveen Gupta, this program was broadcast in our national program of talks and came to you from the Delhi station of All India Radio.